Eldoria, The Bond Awakens by Justin Lawrence. Chapter 1. The Enchanted Encounter. The town of Eldoria was quiet, tucked between rolling hills and vast forests that stretched out like a green ocean. Life there moved at its own slow rhythm, where everyone knew each other and change came rarely. But for 12-year-old Leo, life never felt ordinary. Since his father's passing years ago, he lived with his mother, grandmother, and grandfather in a modest home at the edge of town. The forest was his escape, a place where the weight of grief lifted and he could breathe freely. He would often wander there for hours, sketching birds, chasing rabbits, and listening to the whispers of the wind through the trees. One spring afternoon, while rummaging through old belongings in the attic, Leo uncovered something unusual. A silver chain with a pendant unlike any he had seen. Its design was intricate, etched with faint runes that shimmered faintly under the light. His mother explained softly, "That belonged to your father's family, passed down for generations. Some say it carries magic, though none of us ever saw proof." Leo slipped it around his neck. It didn't just sit there, it felt alive, like it was waiting for him. Days later, wandering deeper into the woods than ever before, the pendant warmed suddenly against his chest. A faint glow radiated from it, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Confused but curious, Leo followed the light through twisting paths until the trees thinned into a clearing bathed in golden light. There, standing silently, was a creature. It was unlike anything Leo had imagined. Scales glimmered like emerald and sapphire, and its eyes seemed impossibly ancient, filled with recognition. For a long moment, neither moved. Then, slowly, Leo extended his hand. To his shock, the creature lowered its head, nuzzling his palm with warmth that coursed through him like fire and comfort all at once. From the shadows, a tall figure stepped forward. Clad in robes the color of twilight, his presence was commanding yet calm. "Leo," he said in a deep but gentle voice, "you found what few are chosen to see. That pendant is the key. You were meant to find it." Who are you?" Leo asked, his voice trembling. "My name is Master Kyle," the man replied, "and your journey has only just begun." Chapter 2, The Hidden School. That night, Leo could hardly sleep. His mind replayed the creature's wise eyes, the warmth of its touch, and Master Kyle's words. The pendant still glowed faintly, as if reminding him it wasn't a dream. The next morning, Master Kyle appeared at his door. His mother and grandparents exchanged uncertain glances but allowed the man inside. Kyle spoke with calm authority. "Leo has inherited a gift. There is a school, a place hidden from ordinary eyes, where children like him learn to understand these creatures and the bonds they share." His mother clutched Leo's hand, but he's only 12. He's still just a boy. Kale's gaze softened, yes, but he is also more. If he stays, the pendant's magic will grow restless. He must learn to wield it, or it may consume him. Reluctantly, she agreed. That afternoon, Kyle led Leo deep into the forest, far beyond where he had ever ventured. They followed winding paths until the trees gave way to a secluded valley. Nestled there was a grand structure cloaked in ivy and shimmering faintly as though the building itself held magic. "This," Kyle said, sweeping his arm, "is the Academy of Eldoria." Inside, Leo's awe grew. The halls bustled with young students, some no older than him, others nearly adults. Strange creatures padded alongside them. Winged foxes, glowing deer, birds that sang in languages Leo almost understood. Kyle introduced him to Jackson, a lively boy with messy hair and an easy grin. "You're the new kid, huh? Don't worry, you'll fit right in," Jackson said, clapping him on the shoulder. Not long after, he met Alara, a quiet girl whose gentle touch could heal wounded birds. She gave him a kind smile, though her eyes carried secrets. Yet not everyone welcomed him. A boy named Thorn, taller and older, eyed Leo with disdain. "Another chosen one? We'll see if you last. Leo felt a chill, but he also felt something else, resolve. This was his chance to belong, to prove himself. Chapter 3, The Recruiter's Visit. That evening, Leo returned home to gather his things. He expected silence, maybe even resistance, but instead found his family waiting with someone else, a recruiter from the academy. The man, tall and stern, wore a cloak stitched with golden thread. He carried a small floating tablet that glowed faintly, inscribed with shifting runes. "Leo," he said, bowing slightly, "your acceptance into the academy is official. This device will guide you. Think of it as both a map and a teacher." His grandfather studied the man warily. "And what if the boy doesn't want to go? What if we need him here?" The recruiter's eyes softened. "You've already seen it. The pendant chose him. Keeping him from his path would only endanger him and you. He was born to walk this road." Leo's mother touched his cheek. "I'll miss you every day," she whispered, tears brimming. "But your father would be proud." The recruiter placed the glowing tablet in Leo's hands. Symbols danced across its surface, rearranging themselves into words only he could understand. "Your journey begins at dawn." For the first time in years, Leo didn't just feel ordinary, he felt destined. Chapter 4, The Journey Begins. At sunrise, Leo stood with his small pack slung over his shoulder, the pendant glowing faintly beneath his shirt. His family gathered at the edge of the road. His mother hugged him so tightly he thought she might never let go. His grandmother pressed a kiss to his forehead. His grandfather placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "Stand tall, boy," he said. "Your father's spirit walks with you." Waiting nearby was a carriage unlike any Leo had seen. Its wheels shimmered faintly, hovering inches above the ground, pulled by two luminous stag-like creatures. Master Kyle and the recruiter sat at the front. "Ready?" Kyle asked. Leo climbed aboard, heart hammering with equal parts fear and excitement. The carriage lifted smoothly, gliding across the forest path as if floating on air. Trees blurred past, and soon Eldoria disappeared behind him. The journey stretched long, winding through valleys and misty mountains. Kyle explained the academy's purpose. "Every creature you meet holds ancient magic. Your bond with them is more than friendship. It is power, responsibility, and trust. Fail that trust, and both you and the creature suffer. Honor it, and the world itself will open to you." As the carriage crested a hill, Leo saw it again, the Academy of Eldoria, shining in the distance like a jewel nestled among forests and waterfalls. The sight stole his breath. Jackson was waiting when they arrived, grinning as though he'd known Leo would come all along. "Took you long enough, mate," he teased. Leo smiled nervously, clutching the pendant. He didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but one thing was clear. His ordinary life was gone. A new adventure had begun. Chapter 5, The First Lesson. Leo woke early on his first morning at the academy, his heart pounding with nerves and excitement. The sun spilled through tall glass windows, painting the stone walls with streaks of gold. Outside, the calls of magical birds echoed across the courtyards, their songs unfamiliar yet strangely comforting. Jackson barged into his dorm, still chewing on a roll of bread. "Up already? First day jitters, huh? Don't worry, half the kids end up burning their eyebrows off during the first lesson. It's a rite of passage." Leo laughed nervously, not sure if his friend was joking. The class gathered in a wide circular training hall. The ceiling was open to the sky, letting in beams of light that shimmered across the floor. Master Kale stood at the center, his presence commanding silence with nothing more than a glance. "Today," Kyle announced, "you will begin to understand the bond between yourself and your creature. It is not about control, it is about trust." Students stood with their partners, a girl with a glowing fox, a boy with a hawk perched on his arm, another whose companion was a wolf with fur like smoke. Leo's emerald-scaled creature padded beside him, eyes alert. Close your eyes, Kyle instructed. Feel the connection. Listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. Leo obeyed. At first, all he felt was his own racing heartbeat. Then, slowly, something stirred in his chest like a second heartbeat that wasn't his own. The creature's presence flooded his mind, not in words, but in emotions, calm, strength, and quiet approval. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing straighter, his creature watching him closely. A faint line of glowing energy, invisible to others, pulsed between them. "You see," Kyle said, his voice softer now, "this bond is alive. Nurture it, and it will protect you. Break it, and it may destroy you both." Not all students succeeded. One boy shouted at his hawk in frustration until it flew away. Thorn, standing nearby, smirked at Leo. "Beginner's luck," he sneered, though his own attempt had barely worked. Jackson nudged Leo. "Ignore him. You did great. Better than me, honestly." For the first time, Leo felt like he belonged. Chapter 6, Friendships and Rivalries. Life at the academy quickly settled into rhythm, lessons in magical theory, afternoons training with creatures, evenings filled with laughter or study. Jackson was always at Leo's side, quick with a joke or wild story. Alara, quieter but just as steady, often joined them. She had a gift for healing creatures with a touch, and her kindness drew Leo in. Together, the three became inseparable. But Thorn's shadow loomed over their days. The older boy was strong, skilled, and determined to prove himself. He saw Leo as a threat and never missed a chance to remind him. One afternoon during combat practice, Thorn's beast, a hulking black wolf, lunged too close to Leo's creature. Though it was supposed to be controlled sparring, the attack was too forceful. Leo barely reacted in time, his pendant glowing as he raised his hand. His emerald-scaled companion leapt in front of him, releasing a burst of light that knocked the wolf back. Gasps echoed through the arena. Master Kale's eyes narrowed. "Control, Thorn. This is not a battlefield." Thorn scowled, but his glare lingered on Leo. Next time, it seemed to promise. Later that night, Leo sat by the fountain in the courtyard, staring at his pendant. Ilara joined him quietly. "You're stronger than you think," she said. "That light you called today, it wasn't just defense, it was trust. Your creature believes in you." Her words sank deep into Leo's heart. Maybe he really was meant for this place. But he also couldn't shake the feeling that his pendant was hiding more than it revealed. Chapter 7, The Midnight Library. Curiosity gnawed at Leo. Why did the pendant glow differently than the others? Why had his bond felt so intense? One night, unable to sleep, he slipped out of his dorm. The academy's halls were silent, moonlight spilling across the stone floors. His pendant tugged faintly, pulling him toward the west wing. There, behind a heavy wooden door, he discovered the Midnight Library. Unlike the main library, this one hummed with power. Lanterns lit themselves as he entered, illuminating shelves stacked with ancient tomes bound in leather and silver. He wandered until a book nearly leapt into his hands, its title etched in glowing script, The Chosen Bonds of Eldoria. Flipping through, Leo froze. Drawings of pendants identical to his stared back at him. The text spoke of the first bond, a rare connection between a human and a creature born from destiny itself. It was said that such bonds could awaken power strong enough to change the fate of kingdoms. Leo's heart pounded. Was that me? A sound made him snap the book shut. From the shadows, a voice hissed, "You shouldn't be here." Thorn stepped into the light, arms crossed. "What are you doing here?" Leo demanded. "Funny," Thorn sneered. "I could ask you the same. But maybe I'll let Master Cal decide what happens to a thief sneaking into forbidden halls." Panic surged in Leo's chest. If Kyle found out, would he be expelled? But before Thorn could act, Leo's pendant flared. The shelves shuddered, books flying loose and scattering across the floor. By the time the light faded, Thorn was gone. Leo sank to his knees, clutching the pendant. Whatever secret it held, it was dangerous. Chapter 8, Trials of the Bond. A week later, the Academy announced the Trials of the Bond, a tradition every student faced. It was both a test and a ceremony, meant to measure the strength of their connection with their creature. Those who failed would remain apprentices, unable to advance. The trials were held in a vast stone arena carved into the mountainside. Crowds of students and mentors filled the seats, their excitement buzzing in the air. Kyle's voice echoed across the arena. Step forward, face the bond within you. Only truth will guide you. One by one, students entered the circle. Some triumphed, calling upon their creatures with ease. Others faltered, their bonds too weak, their creatures refusing to respond. When Leo's turn came, his hand shook. He stepped into the circle, pendant glowing faintly. His emerald creature appeared beside him, eyes locked on his. "Show us," Kyle commanded. Leo closed his eyes, searching deep inside himself. At first there was only silence. Then, like a door opening, his bond surged forward. Energy crackled in the air. His pendant flared brighter than ever, casting green light across the arena. His creature roared, unleashing a wave of shimmering power that rippled through the stone floor. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Some students shielded their eyes from the brilliance. When it ended, Leo stood tall, breathless, but steady. His bond wasn't just strong, it was undeniable. But in the shadows, Thorn's expression darkened. And deep in the mountains, something old and dark stirred awake, as though it had felt the power too. Chapter 9, Shadows in the Forest. The academy buzzed with excitement after the trials. Students congratulated Leo, though some whispered uneasily about the power he had shown. Even Jackson admitted, "You lit up half the arena, mate. I thought the place was going to come down on our heads." But not all the whispers were friendly. Rumors spread. Some students claimed Leo's power wasn't natural, that the pendant was cursed. Thorn fed the fire with smirks and sly comments, his jealousy sharper than ever. Days later, word reached the academy. Villages on the outskirts of Eldoria were being attacked. Not by bandits or wild beasts, but by something far worse. Survivors spoke of creatures made of shadow, eyes glowing red, devouring livestock and leaving behind nothing but silence. Master Kyle addressed the students in the great hall. His tone was grim. "The shadow blight has returned. It is older than the academy itself, born from corrupted bonds. Long ago it was sealed away. Now it stirs again." Leo's chest tightened. He thought of the emerald creature by his side, calm and steady, and the book he'd read in the midnight library. The first bond sealed away. Could it be connected? That night, unable to rest, Leo dreamed of a forest shrouded in black mist. From the darkness, a figure emerged, its eyes a cruel mirror of his creatures, twisted and full of rage. The dream ended with a whisper that echoed in his mind even after waking. The key has awakened. Chapter 10, The Betrayal of Trust. Tension rose at the academy. Training became harsher, preparation more urgent. Kyle warned them all, "Trust your bond, but guard your heart. Shadows do not only come from outside." During a sparring session, Thorn's rivalry turned dangerous. The two boys were paired, their creatures circling one another. At first, it was only practice, until Thorn gave a sharp command. His black wolf lunged, snapping at Leo's companion with lethal force. Leo stumbled back, pendant flaring as he shouted, "Stop!" His creature shielded him, but the wolf's strike left a long gash across its scales. Pain shot through Leo as though the wound was his own. Gasps echoed around the arena. Kyle rushed forward, eyes blazing with fury. "Thorn, you have broken the sacred rule. This is not war." Thorn shrugged, but his eyes burned with hatred. "Maybe it should be. If he's as powerful as everyone says, let's see if he can survive it." Kyle dismissed him from training, but the damage was done. Leo sat with his injured creature in the healing chambers, Elara by his side. Her hands glowed softly as she worked to mend the wound. "It's not just jealousy," she whispered. "Thorn, there's darkness in him. I can feel it." Leo clenched his fists. If I can't even protect my bond in training, how will I stand against real shadows? Chapter 11, The Creature's Secret. Weeks passed, and the attacks on villages grew worse. Scouts reported whole forests swallowed by black mist. KL began sending advanced students on missions, but whispers of fear filled the academy. One night, Leo followed his creature into the woods beyond the academy walls. It moved with purpose, as though called by something. When they reached a moonlit clearing, the creature stopped and turned to him. For the first time, Leo heard its voice, not in words exactly, but in thoughts woven into his mind. You and I are not ordinary. We are the first bond. Long ago, my kind fought to protect this world from the shadow blight. Many fell. I was sealed away until you came. Leo's breath caught. Why me? The creature's gaze softened. Because your heart was open. You carried the same courage your father once did. The mention of his father made Leo stumble. His father, the man he barely remembered, had been part of this. Before he could ask more, a sound shattered the moment. Howls in the distance. But they weren't natural. The shadows had come. Figures emerged from the tree line. Twisted beasts of smoke and teeth, eyes burning red. Leo stood frozen. His creature stepped forward, growling low. The pendant blazed against his chest. For the first time, Leo understood. The shadows weren't just enemies. They were broken bonds. Creatures and humans corrupted until nothing remained but hunger. Chapter 12, The Call to War. The academy woke to alarms the next morning. Scouts confirmed the shadow blight was moving closer, no longer content with small villages. The academy itself was now a target. Master Kyle stood before the students, his voice steady but urgent. This is no longer training. You will face the shadows or there will be nothing left to protect. The students buzzed with fear, some eager, others trembling. Jackson gripped Leo's shoulder. Guess this is where we prove we're not just kids anymore, huh? Alara's voice was quiet but firm. Whatever's coming, we'll face it together. Later, Kyle pulled Leo aside. Your bond is stronger than you realize. The pendant you wear, it was forged to seal the blight. But sealing it again will not be enough this time. We must learn to destroy it. Leo swallowed hard. Why me? Because the bond chose you, Kyle said simply. And because the shadows will come for you first. That night, as Leo prepared for battle, he stood at his window watching the horizon. The forest in the distance was already black with mist. He felt the weight of the pendant, the steady presence of his creature, and the whispers of destiny calling louder than ever. He didn't know if he was ready, but he knew he had no choice. The war for Eldoria had begun. Chapter 13, The Battle of Eldoria. The night the shadows came, the academy stood like a beacon on the hill, its towers lit with warding runes that glowed faintly in the dark. But the mist rolled in thicker than any storm, swallowing the trees below. From its depths came the howls, low, guttural, and endless. Students gathered in the arena, weapons in hand, creatures bristling with energy. Fear was everywhere, but so was determination. Jackson muttered beside Leo, Tell me again why we're not hiding under our beds? Because if we run, Alara answered grimly, there will be nowhere left to hide. Master Kale stood tall at the front, staff blazing with blue fire. Remember what I have taught you. Your bond is your strength. Fight together or not at all. Then the shadows broke through. They surged across the fields, monstrous wolves of smoke, serpents of black fire, and humanoid figures whose twisted forms flickered like dying flames. The wards shattered in bursts of sparks. Leo's creature leapt forward, scales glowing emerald in the dark. The pendant at his chest burned as he raised his hand. A wave of light burst forth, cutting through the first wave of shadows. Around him, chaos reigned. Students fought desperately, some holding strong, others falling back. Jackson's fiery bird dive-bombed through the mist, scattering enemies. Alara knelt beside fallen creatures, her healing touch saving lives even as the battle raged. Then Leo saw Thorn. The older boy fought fiercely, but something was wrong. His black wolf moved with unnatural strength, its eyes glowing not with life, but with shadow. For a chilling second, Leo realized Thorn's bond has already been touched by the blight. Their eyes met across the battlefield. Thorn's sneer twisted into something darker. "This is what real power looks like, Leo," he shouted, unleashing a surge of shadow energy that ripped through stone. Leo staggered back, pendant blazing as his creature shielded him. The collision of light and dark cracked the earth beneath him, but before the clash could end, a horn sounded. The shadows were retreating, not defeated, but regrouping. The mist rolled back into the forest, carrying with it the chilling promise this was only the first strike. The academy stood, but it had been scarred. And so had Leo. Chapter 14, A New Dawn. The morning after the battle, Eldoria felt changed forever. The academy's walls bore scorch marks, the fields were littered with broken stone, and the students moved like ghosts, too weary to speak. Leo sat by the fountain staring into the water. His creature rested beside him, still strong but visibly drained. The memory of Thorn's corrupted wolf haunted him. Master Kyle joined him quietly. For a long while he said nothing, just watching the sun rise over the battered academy. Finally he spoke. "You fought bravely, but you have seen the truth now. The blight cannot be held back forever." Leo swallowed. "I thought we won." Kyle shook his head. "We survived. That is not the same thing." His gaze grew heavy, distant. "The bond you carry, Leo, it is not just a gift, it is a key." The shadows stirred because they felt it awaken. They will not stop until they claim it. Leo looked down at his pendant, the faint green light pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. For the first time, he didn't just feel chosen, he felt hunted. Jackson and Alara approached, bruised but alive. Jackson forced a grin. "Well, mate, if last night was a warm-up, I really don't want to see the main event." Alara's voice was quiet but firm. "Whatever's coming, we'll face it together." Leo met their eyes and felt the bond between them, stronger than any magic. He nodded. "Then we'll be ready." Far away, deep within the darkened forest, a shadowed figure watched. Thorn, eyes burning with corrupted light, whispered to the mist around him, "The first bond belongs to me." And as the sun rose over Eldoria, painting the world gold, Leo knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning of a much larger war.